So I don't see it as just purely tone policing, as Jimmy Dore calls other progressives out on. I think there's a more substantial issue of tearing into progressives and tearing into them more than you would criticize the Republicans or criticize other corporate Democrats. And I think that is exactly what they would want us to do. They want us to weaken our own. They want us to splinter ourselves. And looking at some of these attacks, I don't really care if you insult someone, even though I don't think it's productive. I don't think that's the best way to go about it. But what bothers me is that you try to splinter off the tiny segment of progressives. We're a minority, and to splinter us even further off, we're going to become completely ineffectual. We need to. Those people that are in Congress are also a minority, and I don't envy their position. They're in a position where almost anything they do is a lose-lose situation. They vote on bills, we say they're selling out. They don't vote on bills, we say that they're not doing anything. Um, you know, and I think it's at some point you have to ask, what is it? What's our goal? I think what we need to achieve is getting to a critical mass of progressives. I don't think the progressives that are in Congress now are sellouts. I don't think they're all traitors. I think they're people who wanted to help. They're not always able to. They don't know what to do. They may be misguided in some situations, misunderstanding some situations. They may be suffering from whatever else everybody's suffering from, ego. And I think what's driving those attacks is also ego. People like Jimmy Dore and Niko House and Tim Black, I think they have egos to match, and I think that is part of what's driving this, unfortunately. And I just wish we could work in a more collegial way, pressure those people, but stop splintering our own and calling everybody else but Tulsi Gabbard non-progressives. I don't think it leads anywhere. And that's just my opinion. And a lot of the stuff that they're saying, why I'm saying that it's beyond tone is because they're sometimes twisting the facts and presenting it in a way that just same as the mass media is doing, spinning things in a way that makes some progressives look bad because it fits their view. For example, let's look at the progressive action on the bill that we discussed, the HR 133. That's the one that was passed with the coronavirus incentive, with the stimulus, and basically it was a omnibus bill, which means that it included expenditure and other budgetary items. And if you look at the way the bill was constructed, it was basically there was a part one and a part two. The part one was the one that contained all the different spendings, all the international aid and all that kind of stuff, all the pork. This part two was the one that included the COVID stimulus in great part. So, how did people vote? We heard before that the AOC and other Democrats, aside from Tulsi Gabbard and Talib, voted for the bill. Well, if you look, here's the first part of the bill. That's the spending bill, the spending part of the bill, and we see that there was opposition from Republicans. 85 Republicans were opposing, 21% of Democrats. 41 Democrats and 43 Republicans opposed that bill. Among those were all the people that we discussed, the AOC, Rokana. You can see all their names, Talib and Tulsi and Raskin. All these people, they opposed the spending bill. The second bill was the COVID relief bill. And here we had a different split. Here we had two Democrats that opposed it, and that was Tulsi and Rashida Tlaib, and all the rest were hardcore Republicans. They were basically people like Jim Jordan and other people, Macy. The thing is that it's misrepresenting. I mean, yeah, you could oppose both bills. You could oppose the COVID aid bill, and you could oppose the expenditure bill. But it's not exactly the same, like saying that these progressives supported the spending bill. It's just not true. So I expect honesty from these people just as much as I expect from the mass media, from main media, and that's not what I see happening. So yeah, that's basically my disappointment that we're getting into a state, and then there's things like conspiracy theories that are arising on the left. Niko House, for example, says that AOC was a plant. How he figures that out is just amazing to me. Like I can't imagine how that would make any sense to put somebody against an establishment guy just to have a plant in that can barely do anything. It just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. But nevertheless, this stuff, there's a lot of people listening to them, and I know some of you are as well. And one has to apply a little bit more critical thinking where it comes to all sides, not just the main media, in my opinion.
If I would like to refer quickly to what you said at the beginning, being the separation of the progressives, but I don't think it's a separation, because we are discussing a point, where you cannot compromise, right? So you gotta see. You can call it the litmus test, purism, whatever, But this topic, Medicare for all, is not negotiable,
It's
and
not.
there cannot be any appeasement between progressives, that we should approach it in a softer way or so, No, a progressive clearly stands on what Medicare for all means, and this means Medicare for all. And it is what you said. It is the critique. Why the critique is so harsh, You don't expect anything. You cannot expect anything from a Republican or from an establishment Democrat. You don't get surprised by what they are deciding, right? But you get hurt, You get hurt and disappointed by what progressives are doing, respectively, are not doing, And this is what causes the harsh critique, This is what I think, why Jimmy Dore and others, they are fed up, and I can understand it, and you are not used to this, but if I can only repeat myself, if a politician here in Germany would try to lay a hand on our healthcare system, in the first place, no one would dare it, because they knew they would never get voted into anything, but if someone would dare it, it would cause a revolution.
Right.
And
right.
you guys are not used to what it means to have a functioning, halfway good medical system. So you cannot miss what you don't know. But from what I see, I can tell you what I see. It's cruel, it's inhumane, and it needs to be called out.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I come from I come from a people that suffered historically from division, from infighting, and I know the historical implications of that. The Jews have had situations where they fought more internally, and what comes to mind is the life of Brian and the two terrorist factions they had there, the Liberation Front of Judea and the Judea Liberation Front, and they were fighting each other, and meanwhile the Romans were beating them. So it's kind of representative of things in reality, and that's what I'm thinking. Is just not it's we're not heading in a good direction. I would like to re-strategize how we fight this battle. One thing here is here's a cartoon of the
Yeah.
polarized express, as we know. Well, it's
Yeah.
polarized on all levels. We're
And look, we are in the middle, it's snowy there, and it seems to be cold outside. But look at the well heated, the warm lights coming out of the Congress wagon, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that polarization is not, as we see, it's not just between Democrats and Republicans. It's up and down. It's between Republicans who are uh, not for spending and Democrats who or progressives who are not for spending, and like it's all kinds of cross sections that work here, and everybody is polarized.
Yeah.
And this is our
Yeah.
check. We're supposed to get soon in the mail, something to look forward to.
Yes. Yeah.
You know what
Yeah.
strikes me is that a couple of years ago, there was this whole thing on Fox TV and like the conservative media. They were saying how Democrats were waging a war on Christmas. Well, I
Yeah.
think you could pretty much safely say that the Republicans and corporate Democrats now are waging the war on Christmas. Uh, I
Absolutely.
there's nothing less Christmassy about somebody struggling in barely getting their food, losing their housing, and in the greatest crime that they've committed is by scheduling all of these bills to expire, all the rent protection and all those things are expiring before other assistance comes in. So right now, people just are still in frightened that they're going to lose their houses, lose their businesses by the end, like in March, because they made such a short term uh, uh, regulation.
Yeah.
So everybody's like completely freaked out, and that is the present that we got for Christmas.
Yes. Yeah.
So yeah,
But at least, thanks to Donald Trump, we are allowed to say Merry Christmas again.
true.
Yeah.
Before we
Yeah.
leave the subject, I wanted to cover one more thing that's kind of related to that, and that is the vote on the CARES Act. If you remember back, there was a vote. A CARES Act turned out to be a uh, huge downfall for like basically huge amount of bailouts to the corporations and the wealthy and little to common Americans. And people were then accused for voting, like progressives were accused for not resisting it. In the clip here, you will see the actual vote in the House on that bill, the thing that sealed it. And there was a decision to do a voice vote with half a chamber filled because people were afraid of corona or for whatever reason they had half the chamber filled, and you will see someone stepping in and trying to stop the voice vote, which is unaccountable. Nobody is accounted to. It's like you hear a few voices, and if the voices that are saying yes are overwhelming the voices that are saying no, nobody takes count of it, which in my opinion is a horrible way to govern. And this gentleman Macy from Kentucky is Tea Party style Republican who's has been kind of an interesting guy, an engineer. He's trying to force them to record the vote. They don't. They overrule him. He says there's no. There may not be a quorum in the House, and they force a vote to see that there is quorum. They figure out there was, and so they quickly pass the bill by unanimous consent. You hear a few voices in the beginning that say nay, that oppose the bill, and Jimmy Dore's taken this and said he didn't hear AOC's voice in it, which is one way or another. I don't know if that would mean anything, because at that point it was lost in any case. But I for sure can't really tell. It depends on the position of the mic. I wouldn't be able to conclude that with certainty. I think I see her at the end, and if you guys can look at it and tell me if I'm right, I think she's smack in the middle there in a white dress, and let me know if that's AOC. I'll let you guys judge by yourselves what you think, but one thing that's for sure, and that is that we need more transparency. And whether that has to be done, we have the technology. We can do face recognition and computer imaging to determine the vote of individuals, even if it's a quick, non time consuming vote by voice. But we need to know how our representatives vote, and that is critical for a practical and good governing body. And this is just one of many things where we're completely our system is just failing. It's not. I understand sometimes you have to move things quick.
It was made on purpose to be like that, Amos.
And that needs to change just as much as any of the other things, because it's as an underlying thing. If that is indeed the case, if people are asking for those voice votes in order to hide positions, then that more so we need that transparency. So let's look at that clip here and see what you think.
All time for debate has expired. Pursuant to House Resolution 911, the previous question is ordered on the motion. The question is on adoption of the motion. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes have it.
Mr. Speaker.
For what purposes, gentlemen, seek recognition?
Mr. Speaker, I came here to make sure our republic doesn't die by unanimous consent in an empty chamber, and I request a recorded vote.
A recorded vote is requested. Those favoring a recorded vote will rise and remain standing until counted. An insufficient number having risen, a recorded vote is refused.
Mr. Speaker.
Is the gentleman recognized?
I object on the basis that a quorum is not present and make a point of order that a quorum is not present.
The chair will count for a quorum. Counted for a quorum is present. The motion is adopted. Without objection, a motion to reconsider is laid upon the table. Pursuant to Section 7B of House Resolution 891, the House stands adjourned until 3 p.m. on Tuesday, March 31st, 2020.
Was that AOC in that white suit?
Not sure, man. Not
Uh,
sure.
Possibly, but what use would it make if there's a voice vote? What use would it make to do anything? Like, it's ridiculous. The whole thing
I
is just
think they,
absurd.
though they are representatives, and as a representative, in this position, everything should be on the paper and signed by name.
Absolutely.
So absolutely no vague scenarios, no conspiracy theories. We have it black on white on a paper. Who voted for what?
And this gentleman Macy, that Republican, has been doing this quite a bit. His voting record, it was for the tax reform, for the tax return to the wealthy, and but against spending. Almost in every instance, he opposes spending, whether it be something that's backed up by Republicans or Democrats, and even the Republicans are quite annoyed at him. Trump tweeted that he should be kicked out of the party, but he's insisting that he's doing his duty, and I can't disagree that he has a point to say that like according to the Constitution, you're supposed to vote and count votes, count, and you have to have a quorum to do so. So not having a quorum is a problem, and I don't know. I think that we have to keep pushing on all of these fronts.
Yes, and in chat we have a very, very vital discussion around this, and it is Melissa H and Jilly Love and others, P stuff, are in a discussion, in how far Jimmy's tone was hurtful or was not hurtful. It is very interesting to read, and there's one voice. Jilly Love, for example, says, she asks the question, who is hurting more, Jimmy targets or those who need healthcare? And yeah, that's a question. On the other hand, Melissa H says, I lost so much respect for Jimmy when he completely ignored Tulsi Ford, came down on her with a feather when she quit and supported Joe and said, why should we care about what happens in India? And if I'm right, Tulsi was also not absolutely 100% or not at all behind the Medicare for All bill, right? Or am I wrong?
Correct. No, she withdrew
Right?
from. Yes, she
Yes,
withdrew from it.
exactly. Yeah, so I wasn't wrong about it. And I think the discussion is good that we have it, and it's very nice to see that our chat is able to have this discussion, not in a tone, in a polite tone, where they're talking about the facts, and this is exactly what I think, what we should keep for ourselves, that we should always be able to be in a discussion, to look all sides of a topic, what would be the best approach or maybe not, and also argue about it, but in the end we should know what we are standing for.
Absolutely. Yeah, we have to
And
be very clear of what we want to achieve, and
yes,
communicate that. But communicate that to
this,
leadership, to the people we
yes,
put in there. Yeah.
and this means also that you got to show a backbone, they should know, the progressives, the 15 people who got elected by the constituents, they got the trust of their voters, and they got the trust of millions of others, who want to see exactly that they are fighting for what is essential for a human life, for a decent human life, and they should know that they get full support, but they also should know that they get their ass kicked if they don't, right? But it is great to see the discussion we have here in chat anyway.
Yeah.
Everyone has its opinion, and I think I hope that this discussion takes the moment and the movement to its targets finally.
I suspected. I was trying to think of reasons why Tulsi Gabbard was so what would you call it, sanctified by Jimmy Dore and Niko House and stuff. And I think a lot of it had to do with her paying them attention. And I think there is an aspect of ego going in there, and I wish there wasn't. And I'm not saying this thing to attack our friends on the progressive sides, and we often agree with them, and we certainly agree with the in terms of holding Nancy's seat accountable, holding it hostage to finally doing a vote on Medicare for all, but it's I think the criticism is necessary. Just as they're saying that we should not spare the feelings of politicians, we should be prepared to criticize them on the merits, on the issues, and on their actions, on their behavior.